Well, hello again, traders, and welcome out. This is Ankit from Currencies here, and this is a market recap for Tuesday, November the 29th. Let's get into today's market price action and talk about our upcoming 24 hours here. So let's do a quick market analysis. As you can see in the markets today, we did not see a whole lot in the equity markets. If you look at the price action today, we had a very small candle. So if you look at the percentage change was not a whole lot. SPX was down only 0.16%, but outside of that, we had a decent gain in crypto. Gold was mildly up and oil was up. So it was not really driven. Again, if you look at the World Stock Index, it was not a rally day in the markets. But on the other hand, we definitely saw some more movements in the currency market. So overall, again, the protest continues in China, but the equities, again, remains flat. Interestingly, we haven't really seen a big sell-off in Chinese equities. Again, they have been able to recover. So overall, it seems like it doesn't really have a big impact on the markets here, especially in the Chinese market. But I think we have what we have here is that the markets are waiting for some of the key economic data that's starting tomorrow. We'll start to get that in the pipeline. So let's take a look at charts here. So again, as a chart, we can see that there is a resistance and there's a support here. We are still above the moving averages. So at this point, this is consolidation. Notice that we have this overhead resistance at that 200-day moving average, which again has been an important key level to kind of cross, because I mean, last couple of times we have seen this kind of recovery. Each time the recovery failed and actually ended up making new lows. The question really is, can we see the same thing happen again, or can we see an end of the year rally? I think that's really where a lot of the traders are kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen. And I think for that, we need economic data. And then most importantly, in the coming weeks, we have the next or the last Fed chair, rate hike that's supposed to get for this year. That's about to come out. And then we have the rate statement and the Fed chair Powell speak. So again, there's a lot of that really riding here that could really change things in the markets. And again, if you really want to take a cue from, what could change? I mean, back in 2018, that was a bit of a moment as well, where there was a lot of riding on the Fed that we actually had at that time. The Fed was more hawkish, and we saw a very nasty sell-off in December. So I think at this point we have this opposite camps. Some traders are very optimistic and some traders are very pessimistic. So we'll figure out which side wins. We just probably have to wait a little bit here in this consolidation. So market price action again. Market still at a +1. Don't really have any of the negative variances here. So I think we just have its consolidation and then probably looking for a breakout one way or the other. Now the economic data, again, this is where starting Wednesday we have a whole lot to kind of go through. Starting tomorrow, we have the ADP numbers, the private jobs numbers from the U.S. We have the preliminary GDP. We have the JOLTS job opening. This is the one I'm really paying attention to. This is one of the numbers that could really move the dollar as this number comes out way above or below expectation. And then we also have the Fed Chair Powell is speaking tomorrow as well. So as you can see, there's a whole lot that could really change tomorrow. And again, the dollar is really what's in the big focus here. So that's what we have on Wednesday. Again, we have Thursday as a busy day, and then Friday the jobs report day. So I'm excited for the next 3 days, because we have a lot more of the news events that we're likely to get that provide some more catalysts in the markets here. So let's do a quick currency analysis and see, okay, what things have been moving. As you can see that we just have a very opposite day of what we saw in the markets yesterday. So yesterday was a risk-off day. We saw market sell off, the crypto sold off, the dollar was up, and then we had a very typical risk-off environment. So if you take a look at the price action today, again, the crypto markets were up. So you can see that Ethereum actually did really well with the 4.54%. Again, we still are not out of the woods yet, but we are getting these movements that, again, don't likely to last, but they are meaningful or good percentage moves that are happening on a day-to-day basis. So, decent day in the crypto world, but then take a look at the currencies. What a mixed match of the price action. Again, the big news or the big mover today was the Canadian dollar. And I know this is why I have had a question from traders where, if you really look at the theme right now, you just take a couple of currencies that just get hammered, and a couple of currencies where really all that price action is. You can see that the entire price action today was in CAD, Swiss franc, Aussie, and Kiwi. So the best pairings were, Kiwi CAD, Aussie CAD, or Aussie Swiss franc and Kiwi Swiss franc. That was really the big mover. Outside of that, dollar yen was not really a big mover. Euro pound was not a big mover. So these themes are changing from day-to-day basis, and that's why we always recommend that you play the currency that's actually moving. So again, we have this opposite of movements today. If you look at yesterday, Aussie and Kiwi were the weakest. CAD was actually stronger. Swiss francs were actually stronger. So it's really an opposite of what we saw yesterday. So what does the next 24 hours have in store for us? Well, if you just take a look at the velocity score, we just flip-flopping back and forth. We had the Aussie Kiwi that was -2 yesterday. It's a +2 today. Again, I wouldn't be surprised. It kind of teeter-totters back and forth, especially if the dollar finds some footing. Notice that dollar and yen sitting at a -1. They were also at a +1. So I think next 24 hours, we really have to pay attention to what the news events will unfold. Again, the markets are not giving us a good indication. They're more sideways. I think they're waiting for the key data to come out. Until then, I think just focus on what's moving, or pay attention to those news events that are about to come out, and probably we'll see a more movement off of those news events. So dollar is really the one that I'm paying attention to. Also, you got to pay attention to yen, because dollar yen have been moving interestingly lately. And I think if the dollar moves up, I won't be surprised if the Aussie and Kiwi kind of moves down. So we're just getting this, broader based moves. The dollar goes up, then you have the other things go down. So I think you just really have to pay attention to what the dollar is doing. I know Canadian dollar, there's another one that I know traders were kind of had questions about, because this, again, out of the ordinary moves that we're getting here. So we'll take a look at the charts, and we'll talk about what the CAD outlook is. But let's go and jump in and talk about possible trades ahead. All right, so as you can see here, the Canadian dollar basket, let's just start with this. This is a massive move that we are seeing in the CAD. And again, this is no different than what we have seen in the dollar. If you look at the monthly chart, there are massive movement that has taken place. Let's actually take a look at some of the rate change here, with that we can see what kind of movement that we're getting here. Canadian dollar right now on a monthly basis, I think this is again, you can go back in time here, but this is the biggest monthly drop in this Canadian dollar going back to 2016. Yeah, 2016. You can see that outside of that, this is out of the ordinary moves. The pace that it's just falling, it's quite remarkable. So as you can see that in the past, we have had months where we have seen a massive drop. We had it back in 2015, one in 2016, but it's after every big move like that, we saw some relief rally that came into the markets for the following month. So the question really is that this is is this a correction to really buy into, or is this really all over yet? If you take a look at the monthly chart, we have a massive resistance support level on this Canadian dollar. So I think as it's approaching this level, it's right at the moving average here. I think it can find some support over here. As we look at the daily chart, daily chart, this thing was doing nothing. And then entire November, that's really where things really picked up. So today's price action was a very one-sided trade. If you just take a look at it, yesterday we were in, markets were actually doing good. And then we had a rollover overnight in the Canadian dollar. You can see that it was just a one-sided trade. It just kept falling and falling until it found a bottom here. And again, it was not really a big capitulation bottom. It was just a slower recovery here. So where we are right now, I think we have, after a big move like this, it's need to digest some of the moves here. We'll probably see a consolidation range here. Not really expecting this to roll over again. I think this trade is done. The theme right now is that the trades are happening or some currencies will pick up more. But then again, those trades don't really last that long. I think the CAD is kind of likely to consolidate here. So the question is, what's really going to move in the next 24 hours? So in this case, again, I think let's go start through the currency baskets here. So the dollar actually is trying to recover here a little bit. Again, after the CPI report, remember that's really what killed this dollar and really changed a lot of these movements in currencies. I mean, that whole CPI number changed a lot of that across the board. So right now, if you take a look at this, we are not making new lows. We are slowly recovering, but it's not really a screaming buy. If you look at the price action, I mean, we had this nice rally yesterday, but that rally only sold off and then rallied again. So as you can see that there's just a lack of that continuity, and there's a whole lot. I mean, in this situation, I would rather like to see this base here and then go higher. But again, in this case, we had a full sort of sell-off here to kind of recover back up here. So you're right at the resistance level. If you really take a look at this, we are at the middle of this range here. As we get at the top of the range, I mean, that's really where there's a lot of overhead resistance. If we can break above that, that's really where there's the next level of resistance will come in. But there's a huge range. But for now, I think we are looking a little bit better here. Again, if you look at the price action, slowly moving higher. We had the resistance here, but kind of have to wait and see what really happens, especially with the key economic data that's due tomorrow. So I think for this, I'll kind of wait for some of the reports tomorrow to come out and see which way we want to play. Again, if you take a look at the dollar, dollar definitely looks good against certain currencies. Yen is also holding it nicely here. So again, both the dollar and the yen actually holding up. Let's go with the Swiss franc, and Swiss franc had a nice little tumble today. Again, another one of those currencies that is just not as consistent. You know, one day it's actually performing really well, and the other day it's just really falling apart. So as you can see with this chart here, I mean, at this point, we are right at the support here. So we are not really have a breakdown yet. If we do break down here, I think when we have the support level here. So the Swiss franc again looks a little bit weaker, but again, looking for continuity. Look at that. Look at the price action. Not a whole lot of continuity here. And it's the same thing with the euro. I mean, it's hard to get bullish to the euro here because there's just not a whole lot of continuity. So the euro and the Swiss franc kind of in the same boat here, along with the pound. They're all kind of stagnating here a little bit. Now, the Canadian dollar is what really moved, but we'll take a break from it. I mean, if you take a look at the Aussie as well, Aussie is trading the sideways range overall. So I think we just have to kind of wait and see what this does. I think this will be tied up to what happened with the dollar. So pay attention to what's going on with the dollar. And then I think the best currency so far this month has been the Kiwi. I mean, take a look at the price action. But I mean, I also want to highlight that if you take a look at the overall direction here, I mean, we actually got above this 200 moving average here. So it's consolidation here, but I mean, massive recovery. If you take a look at the percentage change from top or from bottom to top, that was about a 7% on a currency basket. If you take a look at certain currency pairs, like let's say Kiwi CAD, I mean, look at that reversal going from bottom to the top here. That's a 10% return. I mean, that's a massive rally comparing to what other rallies we had early this year. I mean, back in February to March, that's a 5 to 6% rally. So this definitely has been the most remarkable rally across the board. So I think at this point, that really is a one-sided trade here. Again, not really getting a whole lot of sort of pullback to buy into. I mean, this is just a one way, especially on the daily chart. So I think as we are getting towards the end of the month, maybe this trade will take a pause here. But right now, as we take a look at the price action, I mean, the candlesticks are not really showing us a bit of a sign of a slowing down here. I mean, we are getting bigger breakouts, smaller pullbacks, bigger breakout, maybe a smaller pullback. That's the theme here. So just focus on what's moving here. I think it seems like Kiwi is not the one that's moving lower here. I think it's the Aussie that likely to be in this consolidation range. And then again, CAD has been the one that's been moving here. So as we roll into December, I think the themes will change. A lot of the focus will go back to the dollar with some upcoming events coming ahead. So I think at this point, maybe it's worth taking a look at dollar crosses. So dollar Swiss franc. Actually, look at the movements here. We got pull back, rally, pull back, rally. Again, I talked about it yesterday. Very important support at 94. I think this can easily rise a little bit here, especially if the Swiss franc kind of lags here. So, I mean, at this point, if you look at the last 3 or 4 days, dollar's actually up against Swiss franc. So that's a good sign. I talked about dollar CAD yesterday. I mean, take a look at that dollar CAD. It's actually now broken above the resistance, and now it's in the upper end of the range, which is from 135 to 138. So very impressive rally in this dollar CAD. So if you really look at the landscape right now, it's all about what pairs you're looking at, because some pairs are giving you better indication and some pairs are not. I mean, look at euro dollar. I mean, we try to break out above the 105 early this week. We topped and we just kind of pulling back a little bit. So clearly euro dollar is not the one that's breaking out. But again, if you take a look at currency pair like Kiwi dollar, but Kiwi dollar did move much higher today just to pull back. So if you look at the daily chart today, I mean, we have this very important 200 moving average on Kiwi dollar. As you can see that a couple of times we got above it, and then we actually just end up rolling over. So I think the next big trade probably be in this dollar. That would be again tomorrow. For now, seems like Kiwi is the one that's moving. But again, I'll be using a lot more caution here because, again, a lot of the big movement seems to be already kind of happened here. So I think at this point, it's better to kind of look for and see, okay, where's the next big move? And I think, and what currency is moving? And I think that's where we are going to see some bigger movements here. So that's a game plan. Again, US dollar, again, will be in focus tomorrow for this key economic data. Again, Fed Chair Powell speaking as well. So pay attention to those. Play what's moving. In current market conditions, it's very important to kind of focus on where the velocity is and just focus on that and have a good proper position sizing. Thanks for joining. We'll be meeting again tomorrow for the midweek update. Till then, take care.